Heated, man. Heated. Hi, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for an album review. Tennis, Young and Old. Tennis is an indie pop duo. This is their sophomore LP. The band's debut album was actually one of Cal Chuchesta's favorite albums of last year. But, you know, I wasn't too big on it, which kind of explains why I didn't review it. It just felt too sugary to me overall. The vocals were kind of all over the place for me, kind of weaving in and out of pitch. The instruments just felt really kind of loose. The performance was loose. They really weren't coming together all that cohesively a lot of the time. The recording was extremely lo-fi and not in a cute or endearing way. And on a final note with this LP, I guess the album's attitude is just so relentlessly bright and upbeat and kind of cheery that it becomes almost a little creepy. It makes this album feel kind of weird and hard to read, kind of like a cult member who's smiling all the time and you just don't know why. Just a really sunny disposition, and all these sounds that pulled from the worlds of pop and rock circa 50 years ago. And lots of lyrics about the sun and the beach and the ocean on a few tracks. I just felt like this LP was just trying way too hard to grab a surfboard, sing some sha-la-la lyrics, and then just ride the wave of sunny beach rock bands like Best Coast. Even though I was not huge on this album, I have given this LP an honest listen, and I'm noticing some decent improvements. Though it's roughly in the same style as the last album, I do think this LP is noticeably better. The production has been improved in a big way. The instruments actually sound clear now and feature just a nice platter of guitar, bass, drums, some keyboards, and vocals. And the instruments come together pretty tightly too. The performance is there. You can really feel the grooves on these tracks, and even though I am not in love with this album, it does not feel thrown together. Though I think the instruments sound better here, what they're playing is kind of a different story. Take the song Origins, for example. With this track, it just feels like, even though Tennis has made some improvements, they're nowhere near ready to kind of give up this addiction to very shallow, simple beach rock. Beach rock that kind of suffocates in the nostalgia of old school beach rock and the nostalgia of when the resurgence of beach rock actually used to be kind of interesting 2 years ago. And it's not even really the throwback status of this album that kind of turns me off. You know, it's also that these tracks just lack so much detail. It's like Tennis just wants to make songs that are so simple they just have no flavor or character to them. I just don't think this album does anything that previous acts toying with this sound haven't already done. I think it might even do a little bit less. If it wasn't for the fact that I thought the production and just the recording and the sound of this album was pretty good, I would probably prefer that Cults album over this. You guys probably already know I'm not a big fan of that album, so I'm still kind of on the fence with Elena Moore's vocals too on this record, but I will say that her singing since the last album has been improved. I'm not saying it's amazing throughout this entire album. There are still a lot of points on here where I feel like the vocals are just kind of one-dimensional. They're dumbed down emotionally and melody-wise too. I kind of feel like I'm listening to a vocal performance at a school recital or something. But the song My Better Self is actually pretty emotive and kind of soulful. It takes a break from the beach rock sounds on the other tracks. The vocal on the song Petition too has a little bit of bite to it as well. There's still that overly sweet element of Tennis kind of hanging in the background with those beep, 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 beep piano chords, but it feels like with the bass line and just the vocal and the hook there that a little bit of Motown influence is creeping in on this track. And I like that direction a lot more. But still, some of the biggest issues I had with the previous LP are still here. Just that simplicity to the point where there's just not much to sink my teeth into with this album. It's not really an album that I would put on the record player and then sit down with a cup of tea with no distractions and just listen to it. Because there's just so little going on melodically, lyrically, emotionally. I'm feeling a strong 4 to a light 5 on this LP. I can't say I'm into this album. I can't even really say I'm into this band, but I could see why they're popular. What do you guys think about this record? If you've given it a listen, do you love it? Hate it? Why? And what should I review next? Anthony Fantano, Tennis, Forever.